Donald Trump's global trade tantrum, this thing that's been enacted almost with a golf swing from his Florida Gulf resort, has pulled the global economy into a protectionist tailspin by slapping 25% tariffs on all foreign car imports alongside a 10% levy on global goods. And Wall Street has now wiped off £4.6 trillion in value. The Dow's plunged 5.5%. Businesses in Britain are bracing for the economic equivalent of a winter without central heating. Well, we know what that's like. In the middle of the chaos, Starmer has responded with, well, not exactly a bazooka, more like an opportunity to wipe one's brow with his own soiled handkerchief in a speech in the Daily Telegraph. The world as we knew it has gone, Starmer has said, with the solemnity of a man announcing the end of British rail sandwiches. Our assumptions can no longer be taken for granted. That much is hard to dispute. Trade is no longer governed by rules and norms, but by the whims of a man with a red cap and a love for tariffs almost as intense as his love for cheeseburgers. So, what is Britain's master plan to confront this hostile landscape? It's a three-point strategy. Soothe, not shout. Starmer has been on the phone, holding hands with Ursula von der Leyen, Olaf Scholz, and the incoming German CDU leader Friedrich Merz. No doubt they all agreed that something must be done, though what that something is remains tantalisingly vague. Then we got support, not stimulus. The UK has reinstated the 2030 petrol and diesel car ban, but with flexibilities. Hybrid cars get an extension to 2035, and I'll talk about electric vehicles later on today. And there's fines for missing electric vehicle targets. These are being slashed, and small manufacturers like McLaren and Lotus get a gentleman's exception. And in short, the rules are being relaxed, but don't make any mistake that the cash is anyone's pocket. And then finally, there's the idea to develop a strategy rather than a subsidy. Starmer promises industrial policy used wisely, and that's good for not right now. There's talk of bringing forward summer announcements, but no bold bailout packages, no tax breaks, no direct help for exporters today struggling with Trump's duties. This is, as I say, reassurance, and, you can dab your brow with my hanky. No, don't worry about where it's been. Meanwhile, the United States shows no sign of relenting. Trump posted on Truth Social, "My policies will never change." One can picture the world's diplomats sighing in unison. Relief. Trump is consistent. Well, Jaguar Land Rover has already suspended exports to America. The motoring industry body SMMT has warned that greater action will almost certainly be needed. Your hanky Prime Minister isn't soaking up the damage. And Ford's UK chief has called the new plan a small step, more hanky, while electrifying UK compared hybrid-pushing car makers to Kodak in the age of digital. Even Ed Miliband's allies, one imagines, had to dig deep for their approval. Yet Starmer insists that the right approach is not populist panic, but measured pragmatism. We stand ready to use industrial policy to help shelter British businesses from the storm, he said. Noble. But to many firms, shelter from a trade hurricane requires more than a metaphorical umbrella. It demands funding, initiatives, urgent renegotiation, and the Chief Secretary to the Treasurer, Darren Jones, called the lower 10% tariff on Britain a Brexit dividend, one of the very few ever detected. But as Wall Street stumbles and trade alliances contort, that's cold comfort. The real question is whether this government is too cautious in a world of strong men and strong measures. Starmer's vision of agile diplomacy, closer trade ties and cool heads sounds appealing, but there's a risk it will be remembered as diplomacy without edge, policy without punch. And as Trump frames his tariffs as reciprocal, Starmer's administration has left reassuring industries with words and tweaks and a hanky, while other nations prepare retaliatory countermeasures. Ursula von der Leyen has promised action. The UK has promised talks. I could rephrase that. The UK has promised a hanky. So where does this leave us? We have a Prime Minister rightly focused on stability, but who may be confusing stability with inertia. The car industry doesn't need platitudes, it needs protection. Exporters don't need philosophy, they need cash flow. And Britain needs more than a calm and carry on when our closest ally is lobbing economic grenades across the Atlantic. If they don't directly hit us, they hit our neighbours, and that hits us. The splashback. There's very little, actually, that a hanky can do to wipe up all this mess. To paraphrase Starmer, the world we know has gone. But if that's true, the response must be more than a dusted-off press release and a hopeful phone call. It must be bolder. Or to put it plainly, Sir Keir Starmer, if you're going to fight a tariff war with Trump, bring more than a damp handkerchief that you've soiled yesterday to the battlefield. Bring at least a roll of cloth. Bring at least a kitchen roll. A damp hanky doesn't do much at all.